This video from Sailrite will show you how to make throw pillows. We're going to be using Sunbrella Furniture Fabric and also pillow forms from Sailrite. This style of throw pillow will have piping around the perimeter and also another color fabric on the back side. Let's get started and show you how it's done. If the edges of your fabric aren't straight, you want to cut them off. We're marking this edge to cut off the selvage edge. You may also want to cut off the cut edge to make sure it's straight as well. Sailrite sells many sizes of pillow forms. We're going to be using the 20-inch by 20-inch pillow form, which means we need to cut our fabric blank 19 inches by 19 inches, and we need 2 of them for each pillow. We're measuring up 19 inches here, and we measure across 19 inches here as well. In this pillow form, we're going to be using a patterned fabric for the top side and a solid colored Sunbrella Furniture Fabric for the bottom side. So here we are measuring the solid color for the bottom side of this throw pillow. Once it's marked to the appropriate size, you need to cut it out. We're using the professional hot knife. If you don't have that, you could use a wood burning tool or a soldering gun, and that helps to seal the edge of the fabric. If you don't have that, you could use pinking shears. You could also use regular shears, but you can expect a little bit of unraveling to happen. We've laid these 2 fabrics on top of each other now.
Okay, now what I'm doing here is just kind of knocking the point off, because we're going to run piping around, welt cording, whichever you want to call it. But this kind of helps because it's kind of hard to turn the piping right on a square corner. So we're going to go just kind of put a gradual curve on the corner of it.
We'll do this to all 4 corners.
And you can use just about anything. Like I say, all we're doing is knocking that corner off. And then just take and trim that corner. And I have both my pieces together. That way I know my top and bottom will match up as I cut them off.
Cut off all 4 corners. We'll be making our own piping, so we need to cut a strip that's long enough to go around the entire pillow. To create our piping, we're going to use the same color solid Sunbrella Furniture Fabric as we're using for the back side. So we're going to make strips that are 1 1/4 inches wide. It doesn't have to be on the bias, we're just using it straight along the fabric. If it's on the bias, it goes around curves a little bit easier, but it's really not necessary to do that. So just cut them 1 1/4 inch wide. We're using scissors here because we want to show you can do that, but using a hot knife will prevent the unraveling. We recommend using a hot knife. Because we don't want to waste fabric, we've cut 2 lengths of the 1 1/4 inch strips that will be used for the piping. And then we're joining them together now.
Okay, we're splicing 2 pieces together here to make our welt cording.
If you had enough fabric, you could leave it all one length.
Keep the seam so it's not so bulky. You kind of put it, you end up with an angle. So when you want to sew them together, you sew them together with 1 crossing over, 1 going over top, and then you just cross over the corner. Once you open that up, then it's all 1 straight piece. And you can trim this off here to get the bulk out of the inside. It's going to be by the cording. So we'll take our pillows, 2-sided pillows. We're going to run our piping on 1 piece, and then we'll flip it and put it on the other piece.
We'll be sewing this piping on the front side of the throw pillow. We want to sew it on the side that'll be facing out. Deb's going to sew the piping together as she sews it around the pillow top. You could sew the piping first, then sew it to the pillow top second.
You want to leave it back just a little bit so that when you come around and come up to this piece, this will be open so that you can splice your welt together at the end.
So she's going to leave about 2 to 3 inches unsewn. We're using the Sailrite 111 sewing machine, and we've obviously put in a cording foot. The cording foot has a tunnel that allows the piping to be fed through and put the stitch right next to the piping.
Now you can, if you want to, go ahead and run this through and sew the piping inside if it's easier for you to control. I like to put mine on at the same time and just take little short steps. You want to clip it when you're getting around the corners here so that it will relax the fabric and fit the corner better.
She trimmed the tail end of the piping cover. Let's get a close-up of those notches she put in the corner of the piping.
try to just let your fabrics relax together so that you're not pulling and stretching on either one, and fold your welt cording over, and then just hold it on both pieces so that you've got it both pinched together so that you're not going to be stretching one and not the other. You want to kind of pull it to the left so that you're stitching a little bit away from the cording so that when you go to tighten up the cording or piping, welting, it'll cover up all your stitches.
We found that using leech line, which is a rope for our piping, actually has a better relaxed pillow fit. You'll notice that as Deb adjusts things, she can lift her foot and rearrange the piping. This first preliminary stitch will really not be visible, especially if you keep it a little bit away from your cording or piping. You can see the leech line there that we're using. And here we get to another corner and we cut some relief notches out of the piping cover. And make it go around the corner beautifully. When you get all the way back to the beginning, stop a few inches short.
Okay, now we're back at the beginning here, where we started out. I'm going to cut this cord off a little. I'm going to take this in, fold it in. That way you don't have a raw edge showing. And then you lay that down and bring this down to it. And you can cut that off right even with the end of the cording. And we'll butt those up together. Okay, I'll fold that down, bring this inside of it. Push the piping together. And these over.
Sorry, Deb's hands are a little bit in the way, but I think you'll get the idea.
Back up a little bit.
Now we're into the previous stitches that we started with, so we'll stop there.
And you have it. There's your splice. No raw edges. Okay, now we have our other pillow here. And we're going to sew this too. And you want to put them face to face.
Some of the Sunbrella Furniture fabrics have a face, some do not. The solids typically don't.
When we start it, what we're going to do is we want to start sewing about 2 inches or so back at least. And then when we come around, we're going to stop about the same amount. That way we can get our pillow form in, and then we'll close it. So here we go.
The cording foot is obviously still installed on the sewing machine.
Start at about that 2-inch mark. You want to make sure to back tack. That way the stitches aren't going to pull apart when you're stuffing your pillow form in. And you just lay it. And now it's where you're going to tighten the weld up just a little bit. Now when you're sewing the two pieces together.
So now we're intentionally sewing a little bit closer to that piping or welting with the cording foot installed on this sewing machine.
You want to do the same. You want to kind of hold the next corner, kind of hold those two pieces together. That way you're not going to gather up one or the other. And then just try to hold it as straight as you can. And then you can almost see where your stitches are. And you're stitching inside of those, so it'll cover it up. When you re-sew on the bottom side of the welt here, it automatically tightens it up, the cording.
We're going to skip ahead and show sewing the last corner here. So we're coming to that opening where we will insert the pillow form at the bottom of the pillow. And this is where we'll just sew about 2 inches in and do some back stitching.
Turn it around and you can see that you've got your corners all sewn around here, and then we have an opening here. We're going to turn the pillow cover, bring your corners out. There's your pillow cover. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our pillow form inside here, and then we're going to want to, you can kind of take this here and fold over to your 1/2 inch and make a fold mark before we put the pillow in. That way you're not fighting with it as much when the pillow is in there. And just take, like so. Just gives you a little bit of a guide. Then when the pillow's in there, we're going to be putting it together like this here and sewing it just real close to the welt, catching that back side. So, put our pillow form in. And they're pretty squishy, so get them in there pretty good. You want to take a hold of the corners and push them into the corners of the pillow as you go, once you get the form in there. Okay, get our pillow form in there. Now, the tunnel for your cording is actually on the other side, but your pillow's not going to fit underneath your machine, and it can ride just like the flat bottom onto it. So what you want to do is you want to bring it in just so that your needle's going to be sewing just inside of that welt cord. You can kind of see where you're sitting at here. So we want to back tack and take off. And sew it as close as you can to the welt cord without going over the welt cord or going off the piece that's in the back.
Deb's just leaving that cording foot on the machine, but you could put in a roping zipper foot. A roping zipper foot which has the foot to the right missing. That way you can have your center foot right up against that hard object. But as you can see in the video, this works well.
Back here where you've already come up and done your back tacking, you want to hold your pillow there. That way you know that you're not stretching either side. And then just lay it down in there.
Utilizing Sunbrella Furniture Fabric gives you the best UV protection you can get. It's very mildew and stain resistant, water resistant. You can't go wrong by using Sunbrella Furniture Fabric. It's highly recommended for throw pillows.
Okay, and then it's closed. Turn it over. Have your two-tone pillow with the piping.
Using Sunbrella Furniture Fabric from Sailrite results in beautiful throw pillows, and they last a long time and are very UV resistant. Order your pillow forms and Sunbrella Furniture Fabric from Sailrite today and do it yourself. Check out our other videos showing how to make a standard pillow, throw pillows with box corners, and throw pillows with zipper openings. I'm Eric Grant with Sailrite. Thanks for watching this video. Bye-bye.